Hi, I'm Selena.
And I'm Belle, and together we are
the Fashion Suite podcast.
Let's discover how to make fashion fun, easy, and sustainable.
So you can look great and even feel better about your style choices.
So, welcome back to the Fashion Suite podcast. Today's episode is a bit different and very special. We are diving into the world of fine jewelry, which honestly is a world I don't know much about, so I'm very excited to learn.
Yes, today we are joined by someone who carries a family legacy which started in 1896 and is now leading the fifth generation of extraordinary fine jewelry house. He brings together tradition, craftsmanship, and the modern design in such a unique way. So please welcome Ferdinand Schwarzer.
Hi,
Hello.
Ferdinand.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Yes.
And I would really love to start with your story because I think it's such a unique one. And it's even a start way before you were born, right? Would you mind sharing with us what Schwarzer is all about and what role you play in this legacy today?
Exactly. Yeah, it would be my pleasure. So basically, my great-grandfather, so 5 generations ago, he founded the company in 1896 here in Vienna. He was actually an immigrant. So you know that before you had the Austrian monarchy, and he was actually from Silesia, which is now in Czechia.
Mm-hmm.
And he was of like sort of Austrian German descent, like he was speaking German, but he was born in Schlesien in German. And so basically at the turn of the century, he moved to Vienna and started his own business. And basically he opened a workshop for fine silver and gold accessoires and jewelry. At the beginning, it was mostly silverware, like you know from the movies like Great Gatsby, right? Those beautiful cigarettes boxes
Yeah.
and silver lighters and things like that. And basically, that's how the whole story started. And then, step by step, every generation developed the business. We turned more and more into fine jewelry and even finer jewelry. And yeah, now finally with me, we're doing bespoke jewelry and high jewelry with very valuable gemstones.
Wow, impressive.
Super impressive. And beyond the business, I imagine it must come with a lot of personal meaning too, no? How do you feel to carry on something that has been passed down through 5 generations? I don't know, I'm more curious in the personal side. Maybe as a kid, you already knew you wanted to do it. Just,
Yeah, that's a funny story actually. So
okay.
when I grew up, my father would always say to me, "Oh, you can do whatever you want. You can study whatever you want." But
Okay.
wouldn't it be sad if after 130 years the family business stops existing because of you?
Just a light
Oof.
pressure on your shoulders.
Oof.
Exactly, yeah. And so
Hmm.
basically, as a teenager, I hated this, and I hated this sort of pressure that I should do it. And back then, I thought I will do something completely different. And so back then, actually, I had the idea, like when I was 16, 17, 18, I had the idea of doing finance, going into investment banking, private equity, something like that. And the reason for that is a bit embarrassing because back then I was watching those movies, right? Like Wolf of Wall Street. And I
Ah,
thought, oh, wow, that's a nice lifestyle, like good parties and nice
yeah.
cars, nice suits. And then I thought, yeah, I will do this because I will earn a lot of money and I will live this lifestyle. And so that's the reason why I studied business, international business and Chinese at university.
Oh, wow.
And then after my studies, I gained some experience in in finance. And I I quickly discovered that I absolutely hated it. So it was I'm really
Luckily, you
not
just
made
studied it.
exactly. So I did an internship and I really hated it. It was all about like long hours, first of all, and then just working on Excel sheets. And yeah, I was not particularly gifted at it, and yeah, I didn't enjoy it at all. And so I was quite frustrated. And then my father told me, "Why don't you go to our suppliers? They have a jewelry workshop in Spain, in Valencia, and why don't you go there and just do an internship and see how you like it? And that's what I did. And I really like started from from the bottom of the hierarchy. Like I started by cleaning the floor, because in a gold workshop, in every piece of dust you have some gold hidden in it, so you need to collect the dust. So I was cleaning the
Oh.
workshop, and
Okay.
then I did the casting of the jewelry, and then I did the polishing, and finally I even learned how to set the gemstones, which is the most difficult task.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's what I did. And I back then I really fell in love with the industry and with the product, because contrary to finance, where everything is virtual and everything is on like numbers on Excel spreadsheets, it was something you can touch, something which is beautiful, valuable, and something which makes people happy actually. So yeah, I really fell in love with the industry, and suddenly this idea of joining the family business didn't sound that bad.
It's impressive.
I love it. It's
Yeah.
literally in the blood, because it's like you feel it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Beyond the
Exactly.
pressure, the roots, you could
Yeah.
finally find your way. It's amazing. I love
It's
it.
true. Probably it's like epigenetics or something, right?
But was it easy for your family to hand down the family company, like the legends, or was it difficult for your father or grandfather, uncle?
Yeah, interesting question. So actually my father is still running the company. Basically so in terms of brand, we're the same brand. But like just legally, I have my own company and my father has his company. So he is running the major business of my family, which is wholesale, which
Mm-hmm.
means we do B2B, we manufacture in higher quantities. My father then sells it to all the jewelry shops in Austria. And
Ah.
what I'm basically introducing and starting is to go for the really high jewelry,
Yeah.
and custom made pieces. So every piece is one of a kind. And so therefore, as we both have our sort of own entities, it was not that tricky. Of course, like there's always this generational conflict, but I
Yeah.
think that's quite natural. I think Selena, you're also from a family business, right?
Yes, so I can totally relate to that. So that's why I
Yeah.
had to ask the question, because it isn't
So,
that easy all the time.
so
And I
when
had the same story with you. I was like in my teenagers, oh, I don't want to do this. I'm going to do something completely different. But look at me now, still doing the family business, and I love it. I don't want to change it.
Exactly. I know that's fantastic. For example, like when I was when I was showing my father like my marketing budget for social media, etc., something he never did before. Of course, he was raising eyebrows, but yeah, in that case, he just got a bit stubborn.
I think we all had that in the beginning.
Yeah,
Or how to explain a trend, no?
Yeah.
exactly.
Like,
Yeah, I even had to fight in the beginning about the online store because they told me it's something negative. We don't need something like this because we never had something like this. As well, back in the days, it didn't exist, so maybe it changed.
I know exactly what you mean. We had similar
Yeah,
conversations at home.
that's true.
Ferdinand, can I ask you, because to be honest, I have no idea about the fine jewelry world, and I would love to learn to know. Also, from the outside, it can feel a bit intimidating or distant, no? Very exclusive or just for a selected um, group of people. What's one thing you wish more people knew about fine jewelry?
So yeah, that's a very good question. I can understand that it is intimidating because obviously you are spending, depends how much, but like quite a bit of money on a relatively small item, and you don't know if it's real, if it's proper, if the price is okay, or if you're overpaying. And therefore, I can understand it quite well. I think it's very important to understand that you should buy it from someone who you trust. That
Mhm.
could be a big brand like Cartier, because of course they have a brand reputation to lose. So basically, you can trust them. It can also be a small jeweler, or it can be like a family business, which I would be very glad if you
Like
go there.
Schwarzer.
Exactly. But in general, like it could be a very small dealer, it could be a huge brand. Go to someone you trust. And if you have a bad feeling or if you see some red flags when he talks to you, then just don't buy from him. I think this is the first most important thing. And the second important thing is that I think people should understand that if they buy fine jewelry, it's forever. Like it will not go bad, it will not go ugly. Maybe you need to repolish it after 40 years, but basically it's made to last forever. It's not like some shoes, like sneakers or whatever, which you have to throw away after a couple of years. So
Yes, I
it's
love the
made,
idea. Loved it.
it's made to last forever, and it's funny that even like nowadays in archaeology, we find some jewelry from ancient Rome, from ancient Greece, and first of all, they had a
Cool.
very good taste in jewelry actually, which is quite nice. You can even buy those things, which is beautiful. And yeah, so just think that you can hand it down from generation to generation.
The real timeless piece.
Exactly.
So, but may I ask something? So you said like red flags from a jewelry person, dealer. So what are the green flags when I enter a store or like a jewelry dealer or atelier or whoever? Are there some certificates or anything I can look for just to make sure this person is like trustworthy?
Yeah, 100%. So first of all, I would say, especially for engagement rings and diamond rings, it should always come with a certificate,
Mhm.
the diamond especially, and ideally it should be a GIA certificate because they are basically the best certificates for diamonds. There are some others, and some are also good, like HRD or IGI. They're also okay. But then there are some certificates which are super sketchy. And I think the most sketchy thing you can find in the market is that you get some very weird value appraisal slash certificate by some random guy in the US or in Dubai or whatever. It looks relatively official, but when you Google it, no one knows it. It's a very yeah, not very reputable laboratory, and very often they write enormous prices on this value appraisal. Like they would say, okay, this ring is worth $100,000, and in fact, it's maybe just worth $5,000 to $10,000. So I
Oh,
would never
wow.
go. If it sounds too good to be true, it's not true. This
Mm.
is
It's always like this, right?
true. And yeah, like if you get those weird discounts. Like he offers you something and then he says, okay, I do minus 70% because this, just want to
Yeah.
get rid of it. Yeah, then don't buy it.
Okay.
Because I think like something, good things don't come cheap or don't come for free. So obviously you don't want to pay, you don't want to overpay, but yeah, don't go for the bargains because normally there aren't any.
Yes, I can totally relate. Like quality has its price. You can't reduce it like by 70%, maybe like 10 or something, but it's nothing which
Exactly.
is like comes on a discount or like with a season. Because as you said, one of those pieces you last for hundreds of years for the next generations. So
Yeah,
it's nothing
100%.
seasonal.
I guess you can relate to that, right? Like in the wool and fur industry, yeah,
Exactly.
some
Like
capes
with
and whatever.
Yeah, like with high quality pieces, like with shearling or fur, those pieces are made to last and you're going to wear them for centuries, like 10, 20, 30 years. So we don't follow that trends or like in general as in fashion. It's just like small changes. So those pieces last because it's not following a trend. It's like following your personal style.
Yeah.
Ferdinand, you previously mentioned that you are more specialized now in bespoke pieces. When someone comes to you with a dream of a bespoke piece, where do you begin? What makes that creative process so special?
Yeah, that's a good question. So normally it's like a 5-step process to your bespoke piece of jewelry. So we always
Mhm.
start with a personal consultation. And I think there I really take time to talk to the customer. Maybe sometimes these consultations last for an hour or 2 hours or maybe even 3 hours, where we discuss everything. And very often the customer comes with an idea or some inspiration. Sometimes it's more concrete, sometimes less. And very often they just come with a screenshot from Instagram and say, I want this, but change this and
Oh,
this.
Pinterest.
Exactly, exactly. And very often they come with a screenshot and then it's a 50,000 euro ring. And then they say, but actually my budget is just 3,000 euros. So
Yeah.
I like these projects actually because then I need to use my expertise to create a ring which basically looks the same or very similar, but with maybe different gemstones and yeah, to make the ring cheaper.
Okay. But
So
may I
that's
ask yeah, may I ask something else, like in addition? So what are the typical gemstones? Because I think I personally just know diamonds, maybe rubies, sapphires,
well,
smaragds.
there are literally 100 of different gemstones. So obviously the classic, especially for engagement rings, is a diamond. But then you have, of course, rubies, sapphires, emeralds. With sapphires, the beauty is that everyone knows the blue sapphire, but you
Yeah.
have sapphires who are pink. You have sapphires which are like greenish or purple, yellow, orange. So there you have already an enormous variety. And yeah, then you have some other stones. Personally, I love spinels, for example, which because they are even nicer than rubies in my opinion. But yeah, there are literally hundreds of different gemstones.
Interesting.
And what is the most common piece of jewelry people ask for, like engagement rings, or do you have like a top seller occasion?
Yeah, so obviously, I think my best seller is the engagement ring because, first of all, I think I'm in the right age right now, and like lots of people in my friends and network are getting engaged now. But secondly, yeah, it's just a classic, and this always goes well. Additionally, what I'm doing a lot is like earrings, like nice big earrings with special gemstones. This I love to do. And also a very good seller are bracelets. So you know those tennis bracelets
Yeah.
where you have lots of small diamonds or colored gemstones on the bracelets. Yeah, those we sell quite well as well. But obviously we do everything. So right now I'm working on a brooch, which for some people is quite outdated, but we will do a modern version of a brooch. So yeah, I think it's gonna be quite nice.
I'm curious. Is it possible to see it afterwards? So do you post all of your pieces or is it just for the customers, but for them?
No, sure, I can share. If you want, I can get some pieces later and show you in the camera. And of course, I can send you some of my sketches and pictures, which you can
Yes, that
use.
would be amazing.
No,
That would
my
be really
pleasure.
amazing. Also, if you
Yeah.
can share now, not now, but later in video, so we can include it in the episode, would be amazing. Really
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
amazing.
We'll get them
I
later.
love it. Amazing. And can I ask something else? Because you said like your father is like mostly like an wholesaler and you're like into really high fine jewelry. So what's the difference? Is it like really, are there like classes or like steps? I don't know how to, you know, it's like the low basic jewelry person and then we go a bit further and then there's like the top.
Yeah, good question. So first of all, the biggest difference between my father and me is that he's doing B2B, which he sells to jewelry shops, whereas I'm selling B2C to the final customer. But in terms of hierarchy in the jewelry world, yeah, so basically there's something we call fashion jewelry, which is like silver and fake gemstones. Then we have something which we call fine jewelry, and this is a big range. Fine jewelry, I would say, starts with just like a little pendant just out of gold or like just little dots, gold earrings. This is where fine jewelry starts. It's made out of real gold, but no expensive gemstones. And then
Okay.
you can add more and more gemstones and go for even more exquisite pieces. And then we reach the upper end of fine jewelry. And so I'm doing that. Like I would say I'm on the upper hand of fine jewelry, but then we enter high jewelry. And the difference there is that you have really remarkable gemstones, sort of investment pieces, investment gemstones, which are quite valuable, very rare. They also actually increase in value. And yeah, and there we get to high jewelry. For example, a ruby, which is not heated. So this is a treatment of a gemstone. And if it's not treated, it's more valuable. And yeah, there I would say we start high jewelry.
Okay. And as you mentioned, investing into stones, I'm also very curious about this topic. So what is it? How does it work? What do people have to know? because like I think like the normal regular people have no idea about this, because we all heard about like, funds, ETFs, cryptocurrencies, everything.
Bags, the bags.
Yes, bags, of
I think in
course.
fashion is the
Yeah.
most heard one, but jewelry,
No, but like it's not
mm,
familiar. I think many
no.
people don't know anything about it.
Yeah, I think what you just said with the bags, like a Birkin bag,
Mm-hmm.
that's the perfect example. So generally, when you buy a normal piece of jewelry, it will not
Mm-hmm.
be an investment. It will hold some value because obviously you have the gold and the diamond and the gemstone. But if you buy now from me a tennis bracelet for, let's say, 5,000 euros and you want to sell it the next day, obviously you will not get the same money back. And you will not get back more because then I wouldn't sell it, right? So that's quite obvious. But then we have, so for normal jewelry, you will always get back the value of the gold and the value of the gemstones, but not the work which went into it, not the marketing, whatever. But then we have some special pieces of jewelry with those very special gemstones, like let's say we have a pink diamond, or we have a Paraiba tourmaline, like a nice ring with Paraiba tourmaline. Those are really, really rare gemstones. There are very few gemstones of this kind in the world. And obviously they get scarcer and scarcer because the mines get depleted and they get less and less of these stones. And at the same time, the demand for those stones is increasing, which means that maybe 10 years from now, or 20 years from now, this stone and the whole piece of jewelry will be worth more than you initially paid for it. Obviously, this doesn't work overnight. So I think similar with the Birkin bag, if I buy it and then want to sell it the next day, I will get actually less and not more. But if it's like a special bag of a special edition and I wait for 10, 20 years and I take very good care of the bag, then I can have a good investment. And like that, it goes for gemstones and jewelry.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah, super interesting.
So,
Ferdinand,
yeah.
okay. Now, I want to come back again to the process of the bespoke piece, because you mentioned it was a 5-step, but the first one was the meeting with the client. How it continues, because I'm very curious about how
Yeah,
the whole
so
process works.
exactly. So first step is the consultation. Second step
Yeah.
is the sketch. So I'm doing it myself.
Ah.
I learned how to like draw a technical design. So I'm sketching different pieces of jewelry. I make different variations of what the customer might like. And then I show it to him or send it to him. And then the customer can say, okay, this I like this idea more than the other idea. Maybe let's add a few gemstones. Maybe let's make this a bit thinner or this thicker. And then I do this in the sketch. As soon as the sketch is approved, we move on to the 3D design, like a 3D rendering. So basically, we translate the sketch on paper to a digital version where you can even better see the colors and how the gemstone would look like, etc. And then we can even print this 3D rendering. We have a 3D printer. So we print it out and then you can even try it on. Like, let's say it's a ring, you can even put it on your finger and then you see exactly how it would look like on your hand. Obviously, it's not in gold yet, it's plastic, but you have a prototype, like a model, and can see the dimensions even better.
Exactly,
And
the shape. How...
yeah, and so after this 3D design, we can calculate the final price of the piece of jewelry. And so we will tell the customer how much the piece of jewelry would cost. And then he can say yes or no. If he says no, no problem at all. Either we try to design something new or he just goes home and doesn't buy anything. Until this point, we don't charge anything. So the design is basically for free. And yeah, this is basically our specialty. And then if he says yes, we start producing the jewelry. So that's step 4. And step 5 is that we always take care of our clients also afterwards, which means if they need a resizing of the ring, if they need a repolish or want to clean it after a couple of years, we always do this for our customers. And normally we don't charge anything for that. So basically that's part of the customer service.
Incredible, impressive.
Very impressive.
Yeah.
So, did you learn how to make jewelry by yourself? So, because you studied something else before.
Yeah, exactly. So I studied business, but
Yeah.
as you mentioned before, I went to Valencia to this jewelry workshop, and there
Okay.
I learned everything, like how to cast jewelry, how to solder things together, how to file and polish the piece of jewelry, and I even learned how to set gemstones, which is the most tricky part and the most risky part because you can actually destroy a lot. But yeah, I learned it. So in theory and also practically, I know how to do it, but I'm not doing it anymore. So right now I'm just doing the designing, and then we have goldsmiths who do it for us.
Okay.
Ferdinand, what happens when in the production a gemstone gets broken?
Ah, that's terrible if it happens. Depends on the gemstone. If it's like a very tiny
Mm.
diamond, yeah, it's not so expensive. It's like 20 euros loss. Okay, let's use a new one and make sure that this doesn't happen too often. But if it's like a very special, I don't know, 10,000 euro sapphire, for example, or an emerald are quite risky actually because they are
Mm.
they break relatively easily in setting because you have to imagine that a gemstone in a piece of jewelry, it's not glued in. Like you really have to
No.
mechanically manipulate the prongs and increase slowly, steadily increase the pressure of the prongs so that it's held perfectly. And yeah, this is quite risky. And sometimes some things break. And then it's always the question, whose fault is it? Like the customer will say it's my fault. I will say it's the setter's fault. And the setter will say it's the fault of the gemstone. Normally,
Everybody
normally the
blames another
setter,
person.
yeah,
And
yeah,
there's any way to recycle a broken gemstone or to reuse it somehow, or it goes as waste?
yeah. Of course, you can reuse it. Like you can repolish it. Let's say
Okay.
you break a little piece off, you just make a new polish and you cut the stone as a new piece. It will still look beautiful afterwards, but you lose some weight. And gemstones
Mm.
are traded by weight, so obviously it will lose some value.
Okay.
Of course, like I just have to mention here that it's never the customer's fault, and we will always take care of this. But luckily, this so far it didn't happen actually with an important stone. So
Okay,
maybe it happens
perfect.
with tiny diamond, but then it's not a big loss.
Okay, perfect. But
Oh,
also,
interesting.
I think you told me this once. You take old jewelry, maybe from your grandma, aunt, mom, whoever, and maybe it's a brooch you don't like or a ring you don't like. You make something completely new with this material, right?
Yeah, exactly. So
They're like,
this
yeah.
is this is something we're doing quite a bit now because yeah, let's say you inherit a beautiful like let's say you inherit a brooch from your grandma. The gemstones are beautiful, and very often those gemstones are even quite valuable. But
Hmm.
the brooch itself is like from the 1970s, and it looks hideous. Like you would never wear something like this, especially as a young, beautiful girl, right? So what we do is we
No.
take yeah, I don't think so. So what we do is we take out the gemstones and we design a new piece, like let's say earrings or pendant or ring or whatever. It doesn't need to be a brooch. It can be something different. And yeah, then we take out the gemstones and create something new out of it. We can even use the gold of the old brooch. Maybe we need to add some gold. And yeah, and then we create something new. And I think the beautiful idea behind this is that, first of all, you're using the gemstones, so you're saving money basically, because if you would have to buy them as new stones, it's obviously more expensive. But secondly, I think the most beautiful part of this is that you keep the memory of your grandma. Like
Yes.
in the future, when you wear this modern piece of jewelry, you will always remember that, oh, how nice my grandma used to wear this as well. And so,
Yes.
yeah,
Absolutely. Bring it back to life.
Yes.
yeah,
Absolutely.
100%.
I love
And
this.
Ferdinand, I'm personally a huge fan of flea markets. I love going thrifting. I go very often. I always see so many pieces of jewelry there. Some look like a total bargain, and others have crazy high prices. Do you have any tips for spotting real or good quality jewelry at a flea market? There is any small thing we can pay attention of?
Yeah, 100%. So first of all, you should always have a look um, for the stamps inside the jewelry.
Okay.
Yeah.
The hallmark basically. So there it's indicated if it's silver or gold or platinum or whatever. So normally you have this, and then you can already get a good idea if it's valuable or not. Normally the seller will know this as well, but that's the first.
Yeah, but you cannot trust that much.
No.
Yeah,
You
As
need
you
your
said,
own
red flags.
resources.
yeah.
Exactly.
But that's the first step, and then I would
Okay.
look if the ring or the jewelry has some gemstones set into it.
Mhm.
I would look at the prongs. So the prongs are the things which are holding the gemstone. So either the prongs or maybe it's like a flush setting. Look how the gemstones are set into the jewelry and take a close
Mhm.
look. I mean, probably you won't have a loupe with you, but maybe just hold it very closely to your eye, and then you can see if the finish, so the overall production of the piece of jewelry, is fine or not. If it's very symmetrical and very nicely polished and looks very neat, then you know it's a high quality piece. If it's like not symmetrical at all and maybe there are like some big scratches and it's
Mm.
the harmony of the overall piece is not nice, and maybe you can even see that some stones are not very fixed, like you can move them around a bit, or if you
Yes.
put it to your ear and you shake it and you hear that something is like rattling, then you know the gemstones are not very fixed, and in that case I wouldn't buy it.
Okay.
Okay. It's my new challenge.
Yeah, please get
I
it.
will.
Also, this is
Really.
a general tip at home also when you have a ring and you're not sure,
Mhm.
like let's say it drops and you're not sure if the stone is still properly in place, just put it closely to your ear and shake it. You will hear a rattling, and if it's rattling, you need to give it back to the jeweler and make it strong.
Yeah. I have to bring a ring to
Perfect.
you because I have one who is like rattling.
Oh, with pleasure. Every time.
Amazing. I love it.
So, Ferdinand, before we wrap up, we also have to mention your podcast, La Grande Bellezza.
Yeah.
I would love to hear the story behind it.
Yeah, with pleasure. So La Grande Bellezza podcast is like a side project of mine, or basically I would call it a hobby. I'm doing it with a very good friend of mine, Emmanuel. And the idea of this podcast was that, like we're having now with you, like I've met Selena before, but when you have like a normal small talk conversation, it's a different conversation than when you're having a podcast. Even though a podcast can be quite like relaxed, chilled, amicable, it's still you're speaking more coherently, and I think you're learning more about the other person. And so this is the first beauty of doing a podcast. And secondly, we really enjoyed, like, I love good suits. I love like menswear. I love high craftsmanship, not only jewelry, but let's say porcelain or glass or like fur coats, everything is possible. And I love to hear the story behind this. And very often those are family business. So for me, it's always interesting to learn about other families and how they developed. And yeah, that's how we started it. So Emmanuel and I are doing this. We are always trying to dress up nicely for this podcast. We try to do it in a nice setting. Normally we have a glass of wine or two. Recently we had some whiskey sour at the podcast.
Oh.
And,
Epa.
and yeah, and then we're always having a guest from a different industry. And yeah, and then we're just talking. So having a good conversation and learning about the other person.
Where are you?
Nice.
Spotify, YouTube?
Yeah, you can find us on Spotify and you can find us on Apple Music, Apple Podcasts.
Mhm.
We are doing like little short clips of the videos, but we're not as professional as you are, so we don't have the full episode as a video. It's just
Thank you.
audio.
Okay, great. Celi, do we have more questions?
I think I could ask so many more questions because I think it's so interesting. But can you please show us a few sketches
Yes.
before we leave? Or
Yes, please.
if you have anything close to your hand,
Yes.
please.
Okay, we'll quickly get it. Just wait.
Yeah, we have
Yes.
time. Don't worry.
Yes. I'm excited.
Oh,
So let me see what I can show you.
You know what my
Can you speak
grandma
here?
always said? The nicest presents or the best presents are the smallest ones.
So let's start with the small things.
Okay.
So maybe let's go for this one. I will hold it. Can you see it in the camera?
Ooh.
Yes.
So
It
this
will
is
match
basically
perfectly with my pullover.
exactly
No,
100%.
it shines
Yeah.
like crazy.
So this is a timeless classic. It's basically what we call a Lady Diana ring. So it's a sapphire in the middle and then the diamonds around it. But what I love about this ring is that it's hiding a little secret. So if you see closely, you can see this little hinge over there and
Uh-huh.
there. And so basically this ring is two pieces of jewelry in one. So you can transform it. I can take it off
Oh.
and then I can take this out. And now, oops, what's the camera? And then I have a little pendant. So you can put
I
it on a
can wear neck
chain.
and neck.
Two in
Exactly.
one.
So now
Amazing.
here you see the
Yeah.
ring chain, and this is the
Ah.
pendant. Then I can put it back on, and then it's a normal ring. So this I love. I would not recommend this for a ring which you would wear every day, but like for a nice cocktail ring, it makes it much more useful.
Yes.
And yeah, and then before I mentioned that there are sapphires in every color, right? Like you have
Yeah.
pink and
Yes.
yellow and so on. So here I will show you something. Just take it out of the box.
I think we're like little children watching everything.
So here we have
Wow.
Wow. It's beautiful.
two different bracelets. The upper one is like with all with fancy sapphires, and the lower one is a pendant with rubies. So this is the final selection for a customer which I just made, so they are reserved already.
Very good taste.
Which one would you prefer? The color, like the rainbow color one, or the plain red one?
Plain red one in my
I think
case.
so too.
I'm very classic.
Excellent. No, that's a good advice. I will tell him that the two very elegant ladies recommended the red one. It's also the more expensive one, so which is good for me. So.
A classic. You know?
We don't need the price
yeah.
tag. We already know what is it.
No worries, no worries. And then, yeah, and here we have one of my favorite pieces, which are two magnificent. So this is where we are more in the high jewelry area. And here we have two earrings. We have beautiful emeralds in the middle, and then diamonds around. And those emeralds are of very high quality, which means that they, more
So they are
valuable.
also investment pieces, so to say.
Yeah, I would say something like this is an investment piece. So you wouldn't throw away. And also the emeralds are certified from Colombia. So yeah, this is something which you should keep and not sell too quickly.
And Ferdinand, which range of money we're talking about? About those earrings, for example.
Sorry, again?
Which range of price are we talking about for the earrings that you mentioned is more an investment piece?
So for these earrings, we're around 40,000 euros, which is
They will look perfect on me.
The real high jewelry, yeah, of course.
Exactly. So when you come over and bring your ring for reparation, then we can then you can have a look.
Try.
Yeah. No, but I just want to mention that not everything is that expensive, right? So the normal engagement ring starts with around 2,000, 2,500 euros, so which is more reasonable. So like I can show you like a classic engagement ring like this in rose gold with a round diamond in the middle. It's not so expensive, so don't worry.
Yes, it's always like we always have something cheaper, but for the end, there's always way up. There's always room for more and more.
Yeah, I was very curious.
Honestly, with gemstones, sky's the limit. Sky's the limit. Like there are some red diamonds which are extremely rare, like a red diamond, super, super rare. And that basically 1 carat, which is relatively small, will cost you a couple of million US dollars.
Wow.
For a tiny stone. So
wow.
You can go crazy if you want.
And I'm always afraid, when I go to the toilet, I wash my hands. I put down the ring out of a frame.
Yeah, 100%. Like I would be also scared. Like
Yes.
first of all, I wouldn't want to be the setter who needs to set the stone. Imagine you break it.
Oh,
And
No, and it's also true, for example, celebrities that they have collaborations with jewelry brands and they go to the Oscars, for example, and they are wearing crazy expensive jewelry pieces, and they literally have guards to take care of the jewelry pieces, because it's like they have personal guards just for the pieces of
yeah, for
jewelry.
sure. And you can always insure it, right? So you can make an insurance for this particular piece of jewelry. And yeah, and then you're also protected. But yeah, also the insurance is relatively expensive. But I guess someone who buys such a piece of jewelry doesn't care about money that much. So
wow, impressive.
No, absolutely. There's always a different world.
yeah, well, there's always someone who is richer than you, right? So I think one shouldn't look too much at money and more about like beauty, then you're happier in life.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
No, that's absolutely true. And it's good to learn these things, taking that into consideration. No, when I ask you the price range, it was not to judge or just curiosity. No, okay,
Yeah,
how
of
much
course,
are
of
we
course.
talking about? What do we mean with investment?
Yeah.
Because
but
we know Birkins, for example. This topic
Yeah.
is very common now on Instagram. It's like super trendy now to buy and sell Birkins, although no one can do it, but we're all
Yeah.
talking about it. But jewelry, it's like
No,
same.
but fair
Say no
enough.
more.
Like I think it's an important topic, right? Like when a customer comes to me, one of the first questions I ask him is, "What's your budget?" Because like it doesn't make sense if I design a piece which would cost 10,000 euros and then his budget is 2,000 euros, then the design will not be matching. And also the other way around, like if he really wants a very nice, big statement ring, and then I make a small ring as I just showed, he will not be happy. So I think the budget is always a very important question.
Yeah, it's very important.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Ferdinand, thank you very much
Yes.
for sharing your world with us.
Yes.
I'm very grateful. I loved everything
Amazing.
you showed us. And it was truly inspiring to learn more about the craftsmanship, the emotion, the legacy behind the jewelry. You
Yeah.
transmitted us your passion. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. It was a fantastic conversation. I had lots of fun.
Thank you.
For those who want to dive deeper into his work, we will leave all the links to the website and social media handles in the episode description, so make sure to check him out. And of course, thank you to everyone who joined us for today's episode. We will see you next time on the Fashion Suite podcast.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.